Assalamu alaikum and a very pleasant morning, girls. Today we are going to see characters in the Glass Menagerie. Okay, here we have characters of Amanda Wingfield, Tom Wingfield, Laura Wingfield, and Jim O'Connor. Okay, Tom is like I am the narrator of the play as well as character Tom. This story is from my memory. Here, Tom works as a narrator. Okay, first we'll see Amanda Wingfield characters. That is, what are the things she does in the play. Here, we are going to see Amanda Wingfield characteristics. Amanda, the central protagonist. Protagonist, that is the central character. Okay, here Amanda Wingfield is the central protagonist of the Glass Menagerie. She is a little woman of a great but confused vitality, clinging frantically to another time and place. Because she wants, every time she remembers her past, she don't want to be in the present because it is very painful. Okay, she is not a paranoid, but her life is paranoid. There is much of to admire in Amanda, as much to love and pity as there is to laugh at. Certainly, she has endurance and a kind heroism, and though her foolishness makes her unwittingly cruel at times, there is tenderness in her slight person. And the belle of the Blue Mountain. Amanda does cling frantically. That is, she usually says about her past, about the Blue Mountain. Okay, Amanda does cling frantically to the past, but she clings just as desperately to the present. She attempts to hold two worlds together and realizes that both are crumbling beneath her fingers. The world of her youth as a belle of the Blue Mountain in Mississippi has already vanished because it is now she has moved to there is the fire escape, the apartment, right? Yes or no? She is no more in Mississippi, but she always thinks about her past, which was vanished, and her constant references to a gentleman callers and jankles are not only out of her place in the dingy and cramped. Her horribly dated clothing and her mannerism underscores her as a foolish old woman, impossibly attempting to relive a wasted life, puritanical and narrow-minded. She is apparent in her unreasonable devotion to the past. At the same time, she is shrewish, nagging, and vulgar in her attempts to cope with the bleak reality of her environment. Amanda's stubborn heroism. That is, Amanda does not ignore these facts. She recognizes them all too well and attempts to flaunt them with her own special dreams. She knows that her existence and the existence of her son and daughter is desperate struggle, and she concepts the struggle. It is this acceptance that elevates her status above the clawing of an ignorant and embracing. Okay, then a faded belle of the South, a woman blinded by illusion. That is, yesterday itself I told you what is illusion. There is false idea about something. Just as willfully, Amanda ignores present reality because she don't want to be at present. Okay, because it is very painful. She don't want to accept the reality. Okay. Laura, securely married, she refuses to recognize the girl's painful shyness or to admit her slightly crippled leg. She insists Laura not refer to herself as crippled, that she speaks only a little defect. Okay, now Amanda, in her own character, she is very concerned about her children because she want to see her children to be settled in their life. Okay, she always talking to Laura that she should not think about her defect or disability like that. Okay, Amanda concerned for Laura. That is, Amanda is genuinely concerned about the welfare of Laura because she was discontinued. She dropped out from school and she discontinued the college. So she's thinking that what will be happen in the future. So what Amanda is thinking that Laura should get married to a good person. Okay, she is very concerned about that. In spite of the horrible economic condition at home, she tries to raise money by working in a private firm and raising magazine subscription for providing a career for Laura by putting her in Rubicam's business college. But what she does, she discontinues that, and that is, Laura is much concerned about to stay at home. She don't want to be present in the world. Okay, here Amanda's symbolism. Yesterday we have seen about symbols, right? Okay. Amanda, the most successful characterization. Okay. Amanda Wingfield is one of the most successful characterization in American drama. She is truly sorry girls. She is truly heroic and many-sided. She develops as a play develops. She is strong and willful. At the same time, she is vulnerable. She must seek beauty and refuge in her private world of the past, just as our children seek refuge in their own worlds. She is both practical and romantic. She loves her children and she is insensitive to them. Is that clear? This is all about that is Amanda Wingfield's character. Okay, now we'll see Laura Wingfield. Laura Wingfield, fragile and delicate. The entire action in the Glass Menagerie revolves around Laura, but she does nothing to further the action of the play until the final scene. She is a tender, moth-like girl who cannot cope with the harsh world. She is so sensitive, she is so soft that she cannot handle the harsh world. Okay, so she wants to be reserved, okay, in her own world. She is somehow different in a world that stresses comforting. Unlike Tom, who wants to escape into a more exciting world, Laura does not seek adventure. What she seeks is security in a world where she is not peculiar. That world is the world of fragile, that is glass animals and worn out phonograph records. Okay, she makes herself busy in the Glass Menagerie, and what she does, she usually hear the music from phonograph records. Is it clear? Her lack of adaptability. Why she is lacking behind to adapt the world? Because Laura discontinues her high school because she fails her test and is too shy to take them again. She has a slight limb, that is, she has a disability to walk properly, okay, which is more real than Amanda admits but less noticeable than Laura thinks. She fancies that everyone is aware of her limb and the clumping sound of her brace. She feels that her clumping resounds like thunder, whereas Jim has never noticed it. Okay, because of that, she discontinues the high school. Okay. Then Laura's sensitive nature. One of the most obvious level, Laura is extremely naive. She believes the wild story Tom tells her when he comes in drunk and very late. But from the beginning of the play, it is very clear that she notices things and is sensitive to them. She knows her mother's romantic fantasies of her Blue Mountain youth and loves to tell stories about how 17 gentlemen caller waited on her a particular Sunday under idyllic circumstances and how she finally fell for Mr. Wingfield on account of his irresistible charm. She listens to them avidly, even prompting her mother occasionally, but she is aware that she lacks the vivacity of her mother and will have no gentleman callers. She is conscious that she lacks the vibrancy of her mother Amanda. She is very much upset at the frequent friction between Amanda and Tom. She is hurt by the dissension in the household. During the shouting matches between Tom and Amanda, a light is focused on Laura. Whenever the fight and whenever she feels danger, she rushes to herself from the glass fingering an old phonograph record that was left behind by her father. In fact, it is Laura who tries to patch up an unpleasant quarrel between Tom and his mother. When the farmer calls the latter an ugly old babbling witch, unable to bear her cruel accusation of him, she talks to Tom so very gently and asks him to apologize to Amanda. She knows her mother's weakness, just as her mother knows her own, but each is not able to communicate with one another. Laura is also highly conscious that often she is subject of the quarrel between her brother and her mother. As does not have the necessary stamina to stop their quarrel, she silently withdraws into her fragile world of glass. So she knows that is Laura's nature is very sensitive. She knows her weakness and she is the one in the home who patches between Tom and Amanda whenever they quarrels. Okay, and she is the one she notices everything and she is the one who takes Tom and Amanda whenever she feels danger or she is in something she does not feel well. That time what she does, she goes to the glass menagerie or she listens to the phonograph record which is left by Wingfield, that is her father. Okay, is it clear? Okay, Laura, the blue roses. Okay, I told you before itself about the blue roses. Jim O'Connor misheard the word. Okay, because of that, Jim O'Connor calls her blue roses. Okay, then Laura and the gentleman caller. Laura also owns a particular kind of charm and beauty becomes evident in the last two scenes of the play. In the stage direction, William says, a fragile, unearthly prettiness has come out in Laura. She is like a piece of transparent glass touched by light. She does not have the vibrancy or the poise that her mother wants her to develop, but she does possess a unique charm and tenderness that the gentleman caller finds enchanting. At first, Laura is too shy even to open the door after she has learned that the gentleman caller is the Jim from her high school days. She fears that Jim O'Connor will be changed from the Jim she has secretly idealized so long. Under the prodding of Amanda, she goes to the door, but she is unable even to make conversation as she runs away from that place. She is too upset to eat dinner along with Jim, so she sobs on the sofa while Tom and Amanda entertain her gentleman caller. Like this, she is very shy. As the play ends, Amanda comforts Laura, who has retreated into her fantasy world, presumably for good. The Glass Menagerie is Laura's title. Laura is the central character of the play, The Glass Menagerie. The play centers on her. She is pivot around which the action of the play moves. The play is always concerned with her attempt to come to grip with reality. Amanda is very keen on Laura settling well in life, so she tries her best to give her a chance to qualify herself for a career by putting her in Rubicam's business college, but Laura becomes sick in the stomach during the typist test and abruptly discontinues her course. But she makes her mother, Amanda, believe that she is attending the business college by spending her time in the parks or watching birds or going to the movies until her mother finds the truth by personally visiting the college and meeting the concerned people. Laura does this, unable to face the look of Amanda. Okay. But when her mother compels her to open the door for Jim, she finds it very hard to do so and ultimately becomes sick and has to be conveyed to the sofa. Later on, under the influence of Jim, she overcomes her habitual nervousness and becomes normal. She even manages to come out of her shell. Is it clear? After that, when Jim Connor, after finishing the dinner, Jim goes to Laura and he comforts her. After that, what happens? Laura overcomes her habitual nervousness and she started to talk with Jim, and they both are Laura is showing her glass menagerie to Jim, and in that glass menagerie, she's telling that unicorn is her favorite one because unicorn is unique in the other animals. So after that, the glass menagerie music plays. What happens? The both started dancing. As they are dancing, they bump to the table where the unicorn falls down from the table and breaks the horn. So now, becoming upset, what she does, she's taking that unicorn into her hand, and she tells that now he's no more unique, or it is like other animals. Okay. For that, they becomes very close, and after that, Laura comes to know that Jim is had got engaged, and Jim has to go. And for that, what she does, she hand over that unicorn, that is the horse now, to the Jim and ask him to take care of it. She's very kind, she's generous, but she's, because of shyness, because of not able to, that much confident, because of disability, she's not able to face the world. Is that clear? Okay. Then Tom Wingfield. Tom Wingfield, an itinerant dreamer. Tom Wingfield, an itinerant dreamer like his creator, Tennessee Williams, is trapped not only in a monotonous warehouse job, but also by responsibilities to his mother, Amanda, and his sister, Laura. Sometimes the narrator who introduces the scene, and sometimes the actor in it, Tom, sets the play in 1930s. He describes the American going there blind, way dancing and making love, and as being mildly disturbed by labor troubles at the same time that the Spaniards are being like Tennessee Williams. Tom is also very creative. Okay, he's taking all the responsibilities. That is, he's taking care of our mother, Amanda, and his sister, Laura. A lonely soul, Tom is ignored or slightly ridiculed by his fellow workers at the plant where he works, until the big Irishman, Jim O'Connor, pays attention to him in view of his predilection for poetry and being a poet at heart. Jim O'Connor calls him by the nickname Shakespeare. Jim calls him as a Shakespeare. That is Tom. Okay, Tom Wingfield, as pointed out earlier, plays a dual role in the glass menagerie. As before I told you, he plays dual role, that is both as a narrator as well as a character. He is the narrator, the play is his memory. As a narrator, he speaks at length about truth and illusion, but his other role, that of a character in the play, he has a little more perception than any other character. He is a sensitive young man trapped by unpleasant circumstances that struggle him. Okay, then Tom's attitude towards his mother. Tom loves his family, no doubt, but he does not fully understand them. He feels his mother Amanda is silly and ridiculous in her memories of Blue Mountain. Since he knows that she very much enjoy it, he will prompt her into telling him and his sister Laura about the day when she had the 17 gentleman caller, but he feels that his mother is out of touch with reality. He resents her nagging him in spite of the fact that he earns the family's keep. He thinks that he understands why his father, Mr. Wingfield, deserted the family. He is perfectly aware that Laura is not like the other girl of her age, but he does not understand her fully either. Okay. In the final scene of the play indicates that Laura could have been helped but has been unwilling to help her until his mother Amanda prods him. Even this he does half-heartedly without verifying if Jim is engaged or otherwise. It is the lukewarm attitude of Tom that leads to the final disappointment of Laura and his mother Amanda. At the end of the play, Tom escapes both the confines of his warehouse job and the responsibilities to his family. But this escape is almost an afterthought, arising solely from having been fired from his job. And the escape proves almost as confining as his life with his family. Tom is a very responsible man. He is taking care of his mother as well as his sister who is disabled, even though he tries to make up with them, but he is not good with the relationship with his mother and him, because she does that is he thinks that Amanda is not accepting the reality, and she usually thinks about the Blue Mountain, okay, where he had that where she had 17 gentlemen caller, and for that Tom becomes irritated of the behavior of his mother Amanda. So here, in this way, we can see Tom is responsible as well as selfish, as well as a lone person who is not able to communicate what he thinks inside. Is it clear? Okay. Then we have Jim O'Connor, the last character. Okay, last but not the least, Jim, an emissary from a world of reality. At the very outset of the play, The Glass Menagerie, Tom describes Jim O'Connor as an emissary from a world of reality, from which the Wingfield are somehow alienated. That is Wingfield family. They are living in their own world. They are not accepting the reality because they are alienated. Okay, but Jim is very much confident about his work. Okay. Is an emissary from a world of reality. He accepts the reality. He is rather clumsy, friendly young man. He is a hale and hearty, contrasted with a serious Tom, who is an introvert. Jim looks and outgoing personality make him a success in high school, but since then he has not achieved all that he had other have expected him to accomplish. His job at the warehouse where he and Tom work is not very responsible, but he attended night school course in public speaking, in mastering radio engineering to get him fixed in the upcoming television industry. His ambitions are unlimited. He is optimistic and thoroughly committed to be a belief in progress, but he is tormented by self-doubt that are hidden beneath the self-confidence that he exudes. In spite of his protest to the contrary, he is what the most hates to think to simple, well-adjusted middle-class youth. He plays a very crucial role in the play. He is a gentleman caller that play anticipates from the beginning. He is the medium for Laura's initial emergence from her world of the glass figurine, and also for her final break with reality. Here we'll see Jim's symbolism. Jim O'Connor is at once the most symbolic and the most realistic character in the Glass Menagerie. Accordingly, the elusive imagery from which he is constructed is multiple and paradoxical, romantic and ironic. As a reincarnation of the gentleman caller, he evokes both the infinite possibilities, such as by all 17 suitors, and the limited reality defined by the last caller, the father, who abandoned wife and family. Thus, Jim represents both that long delayed but always expected something that we live for, and ironically, a nice, ordinary young man, both the ideal and the real, like some archetype of the universal unconscious. Jim is invested with multiple heroic images. As the reborn gentleman caller, he may be identified with the fertility god, regenerative planter. His annunciation signals the rebirth of second coming of Christ as the Savior. Amanda's wish upon the little silver slipper of a moon cast Jim in the role of Prince Charming to Laura's Cinderella and her sleeping beauty. He is the singing pirate who will charm the lady, and he is the Superman who never fails to rescue the lonely lady in distress. All of these symbols of expectation are invested in a character who is the epitome of all America. Boy, extroverted, dynamic, and optimistic, thoroughly acculturated to the popular version of happiness, achieved through technological process, stages, and material success. By this, the characterization ends, girls. Please do watch the video. If you have any doubts, please do comment in the Google Classroom. Surely I will clarify your doubts. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Allah Hafiz.